Hey everyone, in this video we're going to show you how to draw a watermelon. So grab your pencils and let's get drawing. The first thing you want to do is just establish where your watermelon is going to be. I would always start with the left side and kind of make a nice round shape to your watermelon, and go slowly if you ever are not sure about how this should look. A watermelon is typically nice and round. You're not going to really be too long on the sizing and the shape. So you might want to get a watermelon that kind of looks like this, and this part here would kind of go down, and we'll bring this part around as well, and we'll kind of go down probably just in above where I started over here. So get rid of that. Maybe bring this down just ever so slightly. You can probably just clean this up over here. The important part is to get this looking to the point where you're happy with the shape of your watermelon. Everything's going to revolve around that, and our axis line is going to be kind of like this, if you will. So that's kind of what we're doing with this watermelon shape. So yeah, we're just going to clean this up until we're 100% happy. And I'll tell you that watermelons are actually 92% water. So it's not a surprise that they're called watermelon. 92% of a watermelon is water. So hopefully you've had the pleasure of eating a watermelon. They're delicious. They really taste great and juicy. And what else can I say? All right, so I'm just cleaning this up because I think the shape of the watermelon is going to be important before we move forward. So let's do that. Okay. So what I would do is start off by just drawing your stem line, which is probably going to be somewhere right over here. I'm actually going to use a 5B here, and we'll just draw a stem that kind of goes out. It can go out in any which way, very random and very sporadic in terms of the direction it goes out in. So what you want to do from the stem is kind of draw some lines that protrude out. And this is kind of trying to draw like a bit of a 3D effect on this watermelon. So you're going to have a bit of curvature over here, and perhaps some curvature over here as well. Now this is going to grow out. So what you want to do is you could just extend these lines just ever so slightly out and follow your curvature line. So anything in which has a curved object, you want to draw your lines in a way that is going to look curved, right? So we've done that before in other drawings. I think we did cherries and apples and other fruits and vegetables. So this is a good starting point, but this is not going to be the basis of our drawing. We're actually going to draw a couple other things which I'll show you very shortly. The point to do this is just to show you that that stem is really the starting point to the rest of the drawing. You really want to kind of start out by just knowing where your curvature lines are going to be, right? That's really all I'm doing with this right here. And if you really want, you can just give it a hit or two, and you can kind of ever so slightly give it a couple hits like that. Okay. Remember your axis is here. So if your stem is over here and where the root goes, the other end of the watermelon, where your other, whatever you call it, the end is actually on the other side, kind of around this corner over here. So we're not going to be drawing it. Therefore, what we're going to do is start over here at the root, and we're actually going to draw lines that go from here to the other side. So for example, what you would do is you'll have a line. These are our guidelines, and the guidelines are kind of going to go like this and like that, because they're going to continue around the other side. We'll do another guideline right up here. Okay. We'll do another one right over here. We'll do another one over here. We'll do two more. And then the last one is over here. The reason we're calling these the guidelines, let's fix that, is because these are just guides, but they will actually get shaded. We're actually going to do some shading on them as well. So, by the way, did you know that you can actually eat the entire watermelon? A lot of people throw out the stem, but believe it or not, you can actually eat the entire watermelon. They throw out the outer part, is what I meant. The inner part's obviously the most delicious, but the outside, you can actually, you can like cure it. You can put in a stew. There's health benefits. And you can have rinds. Like if you know what a rind is, I think you soak it in vinegar or something. So believe it or not, you can actually eat the entire watermelon. What I would suggest you do at this point in the drawing is you take your pencil and very, very sporadically just follow your guideline that you just drew and have some pencil lines that go like this. So what I'll do is I'll speed this part up, but we'll do each guideline with a 5B pencil, and we'll just add some shading on top of the guideline. So I will be right back. Follow along. I'll be right back with you. Okay, so we're back. What we did was we just roughly followed our guidelines and just had this pencil kind of go a little bit all over the place, kind of sporadic, if you will. This is going to be the foundation for the darker areas of the watermelon. So what I can tell you is you should actually take your finger and very lightly just give it a hit and just kind of start to let this bleed onto the page. You want to get some of these darker lines, not too much, but just a little bit kind of absorbing into the page, if you will. Okay, this is going to be the foundation of the darker areas that a watermelon typically has. What else? Did I tell you that watermelon is actually both a fruit and a vegetable? So a fruit because it has seeds, and I think there's other reasons for that as well. And then if you think about it too, a vegetable is like planted in the garden alongside other like peas and corn and other things. So and also they say that a watermelon is classified as part of a botanical family of gourds that includes other vegetables like cucumber, squash, and pumpkin. So if you think about it, by definition, yeah, watermelon is actually technically and could be classified as both a fruit and a vegetable. So really, really interesting to know that. Now, what I'm doing here, if you're following along, is I'm just re-establishing the thinner lines, because towards the stem, you want to be thinner, and you want to go thicker as you go away from the stem. So I'm just getting some thinner lines at the stem over here, and just kind of get this, just laying a little more foundation to these darker areas as well. Down over here, just get the thinner, and then a thinner one over here as well. Notice I added the one at the bottom just recently as well. I think it called for it. So over here, I'm just going to reestablish some darker lines. I'm going to do it quick because we're actually going to be doing this a few more times throughout the drawing. So, so I'm just going a bit quicker this time. Notice too that, like I said, the other end of the watermelon is around the other side. So you're actually kind of not drawing the watermelon to a point over here. The lines don't go to a point. They actually go around the other side. So there's actually a reason for that. It's because of the axis line that I showed you at the very beginning. So keep that in mind. So we're starting to pull this all together. The really tricky thing about drawing a watermelon is going from this stage to the next. Really what's happening is, and I'm going to sharpen my pencil while I do this, while I tell you, is what's happening and what we need to do is we need to draw these fine, fine lines that separate the dark area of the watermelon with the light area. So you have these light areas and the dark areas. The light areas do not have to be bright white, if you will. This will be my brightest area. I'll even hit it with the eraser just to emphasize that, and I'll give it a hit over here as well. Okay, maybe we have a nice botch a light, a hit of light right over here. But what I want to tell you is that what you want to do is start at your stem, and I'll just redraw the stem here. But what you want to do is just kind of create, if you can, this bit of a kind of wild, like up and down kind of pattern that just kind of goes in and around and just kind of ever so naturally just kind of goes like that. Use the sharpest part of your pencil in order to do this. So again, I'm going to speed this part up so you can follow along. I will be right back. Let's go through and do this together. Okay, so we're back. What we did was we filled in some of these darker lines that kind of we set forth, right? Now, what I would say is that you can be very like kind of sporadic with your lines. They don't have to be perfect by any means, and they can kind of exist in a different way. Like even over here, these can kind of connect. You can have some lines that kind of connect in a different way as well. So don't be afraid to like let your lines kind of grow, into each other. You can smudge out a little bit. I would actually suggest you also maybe grab a darker pencil like a 7B and just add in some darker tones in here as well. There's nothing wrong with getting some darker tones right in this part of the watermelon. This will actually make it look a lot more realistic as well. And I purposely left the middle unshaded because I knew I was going to be grabbing my 7B shortly. So that's actually why I left the middles a little unshaded. So just go ahead and grab your darker pencil tone and just kind of fill in very, very lightly. Just fill in some of these areas. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill in the darker areas in the middle, and then we're actually going to redraw some of the outer lines in with a little more detail. So hopefully you're doing the same. Are you drawing as well? We'd love to know how you're doing. If you're drawing along or if you're just watching, either way, that's no problem at all. If your smudging gets to be a little too much, you can always grab your eraser and just kind of, make a hit on your page and just kind of bring out some of the lighter tones on there as well. So don't be afraid to do that either. Now, the trick with drawing a watermelon is that you never have these perfect white lines that go all the way across. There's always like a bit of this kind of shading that kind of exists. Now, I'm tempted to kind of go like this, but you're going to start to see some lines there. What I would suggest is you might want to, what I call cloud it. So in a circular, this is kind of like this. In a circular pattern like that, what you want to do, and your hand might get all dirty by doing this, but like what you could do is you could actually just, you could go larger or you could go smaller, but you could kind of create this like, this pattern like drawing that goes away from these dark areas. So you have your dark areas here, and just create these kind of darker cloud-like pieces that kind of go out. Now, if you notice, I can do that over here and I can do that over here, and they kind of look like they're kind of merging into each other, almost like a cloud. If you ever look at a cloud and the way they move, especially on like a rainy day, they kind of move in a way that they're kind of some but not all, and they're kind of a little bit here and there. That's what we're trying to do in the sense of having like these two darker areas. Like think of it like they're trying to like, you know, touch each other, but they're not. Now the clouding that we're drawing is a bit more in the bigger area. At the ends, you don't really have as much of the clouding. You kind of have a smaller level of it. So don't start creating large cloud-like pencil sketches at the bases, at the ends. It's not going to look very realistic, okay? In fact, what you have more on the ends is actually almost like sharper lines like this, okay? So what you can do is you can just try to get in some sharper lines and tones at the ends. You might find that that is what makes your drawing look a lot more realistic as well. So that's what I'm doing right now. What else can I tell you about watermelons? A lot of people think that the seedless watermelons are genetically modified, so that they've been genetically modified not to have seeds, but believe it or not, that's not actually true. Seedless watermelons are actually the result of hybridization, a perfectly natural process and phenomenon that farmers can capitalize on. Basically, a couple decades ago, only about 20 years ago, seedless watermelons were hard to find, but today they make up about 85% of those sold in the United States. And those that do have seeds, believe it or not, it's not even the seed, it's the white seeds that you find are actually, they're empty seed coats, and they're perfectly safe to eat. So if you ever find those little white bits in there, they're just the coatings of the seeds, and I don't think they've really matured yet, so also safe to eat, just so you know. Okay. Try to give you some good facts as I do these drawings as well. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of drawing these cloud-like pieces that kind of, like I said before, they kind of look like they're trying to reach out to each other. They're trying to, you know, reach out to the other side perhaps. And sometimes they do. Sometimes watermelons actually have darker tones that actually stretch across from band to band. So don't be afraid if, like over here, I purposely had these connect. I purposely had these connect. Now over here, I might want to just make sure my white space is still there, right? So I use the eraser to do that, but you know, nothing wrong with having the dark area of the watermelon touch the other dark area of the watermelon, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to go at a good pace, but I think it doesn't help anyone to speed things up or rush things, so I'm gonna make sure I take my time and do this right for you. So we are getting there, but it is taking just a bit of time to get those clouding pieces in there, right? So you kind of want to do it properly. And even over here, like some of these dark to dark will touch, right? And even down here, you might want to get some clouding down at the bottom where they kind of extend off of the dark bands, right? That's really what we're doing. That's what we're drawing. Now, the bottom is interesting because we have this big, large white area at the bottom, but we're not really sure because you want this to look realistic. So shading principles will tell you that there's going to be more shading at the bottom. There's just naturally less light getting to the bottom of this. So what I would say is it doesn't hurt you to kind of just add a little more darker tones at the bottom here. And you can use any pencil you want to do that. Now, in doing that, what I would say is you can actually just finish off your drawing by just running your finger along your dark lines of your watermelon. It'll help let some of the lead kind of bleed around on the watermelon drawing, and just help it look a lot more realistic as well. So that's really what we're doing here. I would also say that you can clean up the outside of your watermelon. If you want to do that, just use your eraser, just kind of clean up some of those areas that have maybe got smudged a little too much. And as we do that, we start to kind of see this thing come together. If you want, you can also just clean up some of your outer lines. Like my outer line completely disappeared here, so I want to put it back. And in doing so, just cleaning it up is a nice kind of way to, you know, try to make this look realistic as well. And it's a working process, so don't get frustrated if you feel like, you know, it's not looking as great for you, or it doesn't look the same, or what have you. So don't get frustrated. Always keep practicing. The great thing about a drawing is that if you're really not happy with it, you can either erase and fix. You can start over. You know, nothing's holding you to keep that, right? No one's really forcing you to stick with it. You can always improve upon for the future too. So keep that in mind as well. So you can see I'm just trying to like clean up a little bit of this, just try to just blend in a little more. I might even use my eraser on some of these kind of these whiter areas that are supposed to be a bit brighter, and I might want to just, I want to be bright here because maybe there's a bit of a glare that would happen. So the problem is once you start erasing too much, what really happens is a little frustrating, to be honest with you, is that you lose some of those patterns that you kind of put on. So you might find yourself having to go back and just like reestablishing some of those, what I call cloud lines that exist on there as well. So just be patient, you know, just be patient with what you have, be patient with your drawing as well, you know. I know for me, like, I've drawn a watermelon many, many times. There's so many different ways to draw a watermelon as well. You know, there's some that have more dark lines, and some watermelons have more white space, and even some watermelons are like completely black. I think there's a watermelon called like the black watermelon or something like that. So just be aware of that. Just be aware that there's so many different ways that you can kind of pull this off. So I might put a very thin white line at the base. See how that kind of also starts to make it look a little more realistic as well. So if I do that, I might want to bring it right around over there. So I think we're pretty good for the watermelon drawing. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.